Another down day in the market with the SPY down 1.2%, closing at 588.22, down in after hours to 587.87. Although this morning we did bounce out of this lower dealer cluster zone. We've been tracking this zone, which has been moving between 590 and 585. And actually, if we zoom out here a little bit on our chart, you can see, as we've mentioned in many YouTube videos now, this area is a very important area right around the 585 level or 5850 on the S&P 500. Back in October, this was previous resistance. Once we broke out after the election, this has now become support, and you can see it's been tested multiple times now, including this morning where we bounced off and then ultimately faded just a little bit below the 590 strike. So gamma exposure is back in negative territory. If we scroll down here, you can see our historical GEX. We had a few closes last week in positive gamma exposure territory, but we're back in negative GEX. This matters because we are at negative 2 billion gamma exposure on the SPY. And actually, if we scroll down even further to our gamma exposure data graph, you can see we have our GEX intensity gauge where we measure gamma exposure from a historical standpoint. So the SPY oscillates between negative 4 billion and positive 4 billion. So we measure total gamma relative to its historical norms. Anytime we see GEX below negative 2 billion, this is a high probability of some sort of snapback rally, even if it's just temporary, even if it's in a bear market. That's often the case. What we see doesn't mean it's going to happen on day one, but usually after a couple of consecutive days below negative 2 billion gamma exposure, we oftentimes will see a bounce. So we're definitely in support territory here. It's just a matter of, are there enough buyers coming in? And we may not see that until January. So it's a critical time here, low volume in the market. A lot of the institutional traders are off their desks. And so, being here in this important zone, I think is going to be interesting to see, especially come Thursday and Friday, to see how the market reacts into the new year.
Anthony, let's take a quick look at the VIX. We're basically in the middle of traffic, which it's a very difficult place to make predictions, of course. But, we are below the hole. We're below the middle Keltner channel. We're approaching the new year, of course, which historically, a lot of new money gets put to work. And we do see changes that get delayed due to tax reasons sometimes at the end of the year. So the picture of the VIX here is sort of in the middle of traffic, and I don't like to take positions when it looks like things could go either way. I am slightly leaning more toward the bearish side for volatility in the short run, despite the recent spikes in the VIX. I did want to take a quick look at the Dow. The Dow has been sort of a outlier in recent days compared to other indices, showing positive gamma. And we also have a high volume today at 445 and 440. Friday, we saw high volume at 445 and 450 as well. And we're right here in this G2 dealer cluster zone, where we think dealers may flip to becoming buyers as a possibility. And we've printed a higher low here. And if we go to the chart, we can also see that the Dow is 2 pennies above the whole moving average. And being above the whole moving average on the daily chart for me is a buy signal. We're still basically holding this lower Keltner channel. So even though the chart's in a solid downtrend, it really looks like the Dow is due for a oversold bounce, with this 440 to 445 area being a reasonable target, matching what we see on the gamma chart we just looked at.
Thanks, Sean. Let's take a look at NVIDIA now. NVIDIA bucking the trend today for most of the day, ended up down just slightly on the day in after hours, trading at just under 137. But for most of the day, NVIDIA was actually in positive territory, actually tagged the 140 strike level, which we've been watching now for the past couple of weeks. We tagged it last week, and now we're tagging it again today. We had big volume coming in also at this strike, over 300,000 contracts. So NVIDIA has really made a really nice rally the last week and a half from the 125 range all the way now to pushing the 140. Our target has been that we need to see NVIDIA above this 140 range, maintaining that, and then 145 and 150 would be the following targets. So we need to get above this level here to have a chance of reaching 150. That's our ultimate target on NVIDIA. Not sure if we can get back there in January, but it does look like some market participants are continuing to position in the options market for that 150 strike. So something to keep in mind as we are approaching and oscillating around this 140 level, which is really the prime focus for NVIDIA currently.
Let's take a look at Walmart, sticking to this Dow theme that I'm on. The chart looks bullish overall, even though it has been in a decline through most of December. We retested the whole moving average. You can see here where it crossed that line and basically the next day rejected right here. And that move down continued. And we're now once again retesting this lower Keltner channel at 90.21. So we're still above that line. The fact that we are this oversold still points to pretty good odds, in my view, that we could see a rebound. We do have positive gamma. We're basically right around the zero gamma level of 90. And, we do have meaningful negative clusters here at 76, 67, 73, and positive clusters at 95 and 100. What's interesting to me, even though the lower dealer cluster zone is down here, in this 75 range, we have volume at 95 and at 100, which would signal, somewhere between a 5 and 10% move from here. And it looks like it's pretty good odds to achieve that.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, and if the market really gets hit, defensive names like Walmart are going to be where a lot of money starts pouring into. So definitely something to watch for. Next, I want to turn to MSTR. MSTR had a huge down day today, down 10%. We're all the way back to essentially where the rally started after the election. You can see we're right back at that support. That's the 300 strike. This is large negative gamma exposure at this 300 strike. So we close just below that at 295. Selling pressure could really just fall off a cliff back down towards the 200 level, or we could have basically a volatility spike to the upside, probably back into the 400 zone. So I know it's a little bit of a binary event, but just based on this massive negative gex at the 300 strike, that's usually how we see the price action unfold. Remember, being in negative gamma exposure territory with these large gex concentrations like this, they basically can trigger volatility events in the individual stock. So that's going to be something to watch for in MSTR. And if we just scroll down here, you can actually get a little bit of a better view. I mean, everything is concentrated right here at the 300 strike. So as we are trading below it, a lot of times this will act as a slingshot back to the upside. So something to watch for. It's really a coin toss, unfortunately, at this point. So these are the type of scenarios where a lot of option traders will come in and play like straddles and things like that, which can allow you for profitability in large volatile moves in either direction.
Thanks, Anthony. My last one of the day is going to be the iShares Silver Trust, SLV. You can see prices declined to a pretty important area going back to April of this year, showing kind of an important supply and demand area. We are below the whole, but we're also below the lower Keltner channel. So I actually think we could see SLV drop just a little bit more, and gamma helped me to get a little bit of definition around this. You can see we do have positive gamma, but there's a big positive cluster at 26. 26 is of interest to me as an area for a rebound, with potentially 30 as an upside target. Even though we did have a lot of volume at 26 today, most of the volume outside of that was at higher strikes. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on SLV amongst the precious metals here.
And guys, remember, if you want to access our gamma exposure dashboard and option flow analytics tools, head on over to geeksoffinance.com. We are still running our holiday special. Use code HOLIDAYS at checkout to get $300 off our yearly portfolio manager tier subscription. We're going to be running this for 1 or 2 more days. We've got a few spots left, so be sure to take advantage of that. Also, you'll get access to our community Discord. We've got a ton of great traders in there. In our premium channels, you'll get full access to that. You don't want to miss that. Link in the description below to check that out. Thanks so much everybody for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.